June is chock full of celebration and awareness, and I wanted to talk about one of them in particular. I thought we could take a deeper dive into Juneteenth with its history, why it's important. In 2021, Governor Jay Inslee signed a measure making Juneteenth a legal state paid holiday starting this year in 2022. So the history of Juneteenth. Juneteenth honors the end of slavery in the United States and is considered the longest running African American holiday. Juneteenth, which is short for June 19th, marks the day when federal troops arrived in Galveston, Texas in 1865. They came to take control of the state and to ensure that all enslaved people were freed. The troops' arrival came actually a full 2.5 years after the signing of the Emancipation Proclamation. Confederate General Robert E. Lee had surrendered 2 months earlier in Virginia, but slavery had remained relatively unaffected in Texas. That is until U.S. General Gordon Granger, pictured here, stood on Texas soil and read General Order No. 3, which states, quote, "The people of Texas are informed that in accordance with a proclamation from the Executive of the United States, all slaves are free." Then I always think back, well, why didn't slavery end with the Emancipation Proclamation 2 years earlier? So the Emancipation Proclamation was issued by President Abraham Lincoln on January 1st, 1863, and that had established that all enslaved people in Confederate states in rebellion against the Union be freed. But in reality, the Emancipation Proclamation didn't instantly free any enslaved people. The proclamation only applied to places under Confederate control and not to slaveholding border states or rebel areas already under Union control. But as Northern troops advanced into the Confederate South, many enslaved folks fled behind those Union lines. In Texas, slavery had continued as the state experienced no large-scale fighting or significant troop presence. Many slaveholders from outside of Texas actually moved there as they viewed Texas as a safe haven for slavery. And after the war came to a close in the spring of 1865, General Granger's arrival in Galveston that June signaled freedom for Texas's 250,000 enslaved people. But emancipation didn't happen overnight for everyone. Most plantation owners didn't do any sort of emancipating until after that year's harvest, and those slave owners got to decide when and how to announce the news, or they just wait for a government agent to arrive. Even in Galveston City, the ex-Confederate mayor defied the army by forcing the free people back to work. And those free people who acted on the news did so at the risk of their own safety and lives. There are a lot of documented stories and cases of lynchings and murders of freed Black people after the end of the war. Hardly a recipe for a celebration, right? Which makes the story of Juneteenth all the more remarkable. Defying confusion and delay and terror and violence, these newly freed Black men and women of Texas, with the aid of the Freedmen Bureau, now had a date to rally around, and Juneteenth was born. In that December, slavery in America was formally abolished with the adoption of the 13th Amendment. It's one of the most inspiring grassroots efforts of post-Civil War history. The transformation of June 19th from a day of unheeded military order to their own annual rite, Juneteenth, beginning 1 year later in 1866. And they call this annual celebration Jubilee Day. In the ensuing decades, Juneteenth commemorations featured music, barbecues, prayer services, and other activities. And as Black people migrated from Texas to other parts of the country, the Juneteenth traditions spread. In 1979, Texas became the first state to make Juneteenth an official holiday, and several other states followed suit over the year. In 2021, Congress passed a resolution to establish Juneteenth as a national holiday, and President Biden signed it into law on June 17, 2021.